This conference will now be recorded.
Hello, dear LANDAU students. Welcome to our new LANDAU YouTube channel. Today I am Miss Aytaj with you, and this is, as you know, is one of our educational video series, and we're going to talk about the weather and climate. So today's topic is weather. Before starting our presentation, I kindly ask you to think about the weather. What is the importance of the weather? Why should we learn about the weather? Well, this is one of my favorite topics in geography because I think we mostly depend on the weather. So what is the reason? Today, we're going to discuss these reasons, some factors, and interesting facts about the weather. So if you're ready, let's start. Well, we're going to start our presentation with these bullet points. So let's analyze them one by one. The first one is the context of the weather. So what is the meaning of the weather? What is the description? We should first look at the context and then differentiate the characteristics of the weather and the climate. So what is the difference between the weather and climate? Do we know the real difference or not? Maybe we think they are the same thing, maybe not. So today we're going to have a look on this point too. And then we will switch to the cause of the wind. What is the wind? What does cause the wind? Maybe weather caused the wind. Maybe it's vice versa. Maybe wind caused the weather. So we're going to analyze this point too. And then finally, we will switch to the meteorology. We will analyze the importance of the meteorology. We'll study carefully why do we need, and then we will conclude our presentation with the measurement tools of the weather. So if you're ready, let's start. Just take a moment and think about the weather today. Where you are. Is it normal or typical? Is it what you would expect? If it's been cool the past few days, but the temperature is climbing today, is that weather or climate? Are weather and climate the same thing? Though they are closely related, well, the weather and climate aren't the same thing. And climate is what you expect. Weather is what actually happens. So what is the weather then? Let's see. First, let's look at the meaning of the weather. Let's see what's the context. Weather is a specific event like a rainstorm or hot day that happens over a few hours, days, or weeks. Most weather happens in the part of the Earth's atmosphere that close the ground, as you see from the photo on your screen, and we are calling this ground troposphere. And there are many different factors that can change actually the atmosphere in a certain area, like air pressure, temperature, humidity, wind speed, and direction, and lots of other things. So together they determine what the weather is like at a given time and location. But then what is the difference between the weather and climate? So main difference is based on the duration. Climate is the average weather conditions in a place over than 30 years or even more. NASA, interestingly, recently observed that Earth's climate is getting warmer and warmer. So this is one of the reasons why global warming happening right now. Whereas the weather refers to short-term change, as I mentioned before, in atmosphere, climate describes what the weather is like over a long period of time in a specific area. Different regions can have different climates. Yes, let's switch. Okay, now you see the different climates and the different regions of our world. So to describe the climate of place, you might say what the temperature are like during the different seasons, and how windy it usually is, or how much rain or snow typically falls. When scientists they talk about the climate, they're often looking at the average of precipitation, temperature, humidity, sunshine, wind, and other measures of the weather that occur over a long period in a particular place. In some instances, they might look at this average over 30 years. So I previously mentioned about the 30 years. So this means that duration is really important in the term of climate. And then we refer to this 3-decade average of weather observations as climate normals. So here you see the different climate normals from different regions of the world. Some of them are cold, some of them are hot, so they are totally different. Now, I think that you get the point of what is the difference between climate and weather. Now, let's switch to the second part. Here, we're going to talk about the wind. So, what is the wind? You may have some descriptions, but maybe they're not enough for you to understand. Now, let's analyze why actually it's caused. So what does cause the weather? Maybe weather caused the wind. Maybe it's vice versa. Now let's see. This is, I think, obviously clear that we can feel the wind that is hot, cold, wet, or dry, calm, or even windy, yes? What we cannot feel is the pressure of the atmosphere. The Earth's atmosphere is the layer of the gases, so which surround the Earth. We usually just refer to this as air. So from the pictures, you can see some arrows, blue and red, and you may ask why they are different. Now, they are actually giving you an idea of air masses. So these air masses, they closely related to the creation, the formation of the wind. We usually just refer this layer of gases as air, right? And the pressure means how much the atmosphere presses on the things. So we cannot feel the air, not at all, the atmosphere pressing on us, but atmospheric pressure controls our weather. So this is the point that you should understand, that atmospheric pressure controls our weather, not the atmosphere itself. If you listen to the weather forecasts, you will often hear the terms like low air pressure or high air pressure. What is this air pressure? So what is the difference between them? So guys, wind is caused by air moving from the areas of high pressure to the areas of low pressure, as you see from the first picture. We have areas of low and high pressure because the sun does not heat the whole earth equally. So it mostly heats the middle part. Much more heat is given to this part, and it's given to the atmosphere at the equator than the poles, so northern and southern poles. So it means that the middle part is getting more sunshine than others, than the top and below. When air is heated, it expands and becoming lighter and lighter, and it rises by what is called convections. So these air masses actually are the convections. As this warm air rises, the pressure of the atmosphere closest to the ground becomes lower and lower. The cold air from the poles then moves into these areas of low pressure, while the warm equatorial air moves outwards at a high level toward the poles here, as you see. Here it cools and thins taking the place of the air which is now at the equator. In this diagram, guys, as you see, the red arrows on other side, which show how the warm air rises from the equator. Follow the air round the Earth at the higher level. As it moves from the equator to the poles, it changes from the warm to the cold. So from the red color to the blue color. When the air reaches the poles, it thinks, and is shown by the blue arrows at the north and south poles. Now the whole circle, as you see, it starts again and again, guys. So as you get the point, the wind actually is the real name of the air circulation. So this is the air movement, and this is what we call the wind. And of course, it's not quite as simple as that. Now let's look at the second photo. As the warm equatorial air moves toward the poles, some of, let's say, cool, like some of the air masses, they cools and comes down towards the Earth's surface, again around the line of latitude at 30 Celsius, and it then divides and goes in different directions. Some of it meets the cold air coming from the poles and it rises above it. As you see here, you see the red arrows. Again, around the latitude 60 Celsius, some of the air above cools and thins. As you can see from our diagram, the air continues to rise and thin as it heats and cools and meets other currents of air. All these red lines represent the currents of air or winds circling the Earth. Now, I think that it is clear for you what is the wind. So the real name of the wind is air movement, and it depends on the circulation of air masses. Now, in this point, we're going to switch the meteorology. What is this and why it is important for us to forecast, actually, to predict the weather? So what is the meteorology? It's the science, actually, guys, that deals with the phenomena of the atmosphere, and it especially deals with the weather and weather conditions. So how the meteorologists forecast the weather? Weather forecasting is a prediction of what the weather will be like in an hour, tomorrow, or next week. And weather forecasting involves a combination of computer models and observations and the knowledge of trends and patterns. By using these methods, reasonable, accurate forecasts can be made up to 7 days in advance. Here you have some weather station symbols. Why do we need these stations? Why do we need the station symbols? So we have an answer for this question. Where you are going to read the forecast, you need to know, is it going to rain? Is it going to give you some drizzle, lighting? So for this, we need to actually study carefully the station symbols. Weather symbols are used on weather maps, and they actually use as shorthand for the conditions and weather observing stations. So this is, I think, all about the meteorology and symbols. So this, I think, is all you should know about the forecast. Now let's switch to the most interesting part. It seems sometimes very difficult to students. Let's see. Let's carefully analyze one by one. Let's see what we have here. Now we're going to switch to the measurement, to the tools, and we will ask the question, why do we need the measure? Why do we need measure of our weather? So the question, why do we measure, or how do we measure? And we can add another question, what do we use to measure our weather? Actually, to be able to make the best weather forecasts, we need to know with as much detail and accuracy as possible what the weather is doing right now. To do this, we measure all the different parts of the weather and record it, and this is called what? Weather observation. So the new term, weather observation. So for getting the weather observation, we need these tools as you see on our screen. So let's start with thermometer. What is thermometer? Well, thermometer actually is a tool that measures the air temperature. So most thermometers are closed glass tubes containing some liquids, as you know, such as alcohol. So when air around the tube hits the liquid expands and moves up the tube. And a scale then shows what is the actual the temperature is. Then we're switching to our second tool. This is the barometer. It measures the air pressure and it tells you whether or not the pressure is rising or falling. The rising barometer means very sunny day, and it means that you will have some dry conditions, while a falling barometer means stormy weather, and it means that you will face with wet conditions. It means that weather is going to deteriorate. Italian scientist named Torricelli, I can misspell it, maybe it's Torricelli in Italian, so whatever. This person was the first observer, let's say, who built this first barometer, and he used it in 1643. Since that time, we are using barometer for measuring our air pressure. The third tool is actually the rain gauge, and we're measuring the amount of rain with this tool that has fallen over a specific time period. Our next tool is anemometer. Anemometer measures the wind speed. So the question is this, what is the wind speed? Guys, just remember this term, wind speed is how fast the wind is blowing. So it measures how fast your wind is blowing. Here you see some caps, and these caps actually catch the wind. They're turning a dial attached to the instrument, to the tool. The dial shows the wind speed. We have another tool that's also closely related to the anemometer, but in this tool, actually, with the help of this tool, we are measuring not the wind speed, but the wind direction. We're calling this wind vane, or some may call this weather vane. So wind vane is an instrument, it's a tool that determines the direction from which the wind is blowing. We have 4 directions like north, west, east, and south, and it shows from which direction actually wind is blowing. And maybe it's really so funny, but we have another measurement. We have another tool, and you are carrying these tools. And these tools can also measure the weather. They are your eyes. And your eyes are one of the best ways to help detect the weather. Always keep an eye at the sky, and you will usually be on the top of the weather conditions. Guys, I hope you really enjoyed the video. I hope you to see you soon in different educational video series, and I miss you so much. So let's see each other in different videos. Thank you so much for your attention.